What's up everybody, my name's Big Cam and welcome back to another movie review, and today we are talking about 2025's A Working Man from director David Ayer, and I actually quite like his work, and it seems like him and Jason Statham have been working together recently. Out of David Ayer directed movies, I really liked his work in The Suicide Squad, although I wish I got to see his actual cut of the movie. The movie Fury with him is really good. Some of his other stuff I don't necessarily recognize. Like, I recognize The End of Watch. I don't know if I've ever seen it. Sabotage I've never seen. Bright I saw on Netflix. That was okay. Street Kings I've never seen. The Tax Collector I've never seen. Harsh Times I've never seen. But The Beekeeper, which was 2024's David Ayer and Jason Statham, so it seems like the last 2 years they've been working together, and that film is sitting at like a 2.7 rating on Letterboxd, and this film is sitting at a 2.3 rating on Letterboxd. And I genuinely think that this one was better than The Beekeeper. I mean, The Beekeeper had some interesting ideas, but both of them ended in the same type of way, where like they left it open vague enough that there could be a second film, but if not, you know, it could just be a one and done type of thing. But this one, you know, I genuinely, maybe it was just the girl, you know, poor Jenny, who was played by Ariana Rivas, and then her, like, mom and dad was, you know, her mom, Carla Garcia, was played by Noemi Gonzalez, and Michael Pena played her father, like, and they weren't in the movie a whole lot, but, like, Michael Pena, I love him. David Harbour played a guy named Gunny, who was somebody that was a soldier with Jason Statham's character, but went blind, and he's, like, you know, out in the woods, just, you know, living the rest of his life, and, you know, he's like his safe, like, he's got to go drop his daughter off and he'll protect her. And I was just like, dude, David Harbour playing just like a blind guy in the woods was so good, like, such a good character for him, you know, just like a small supporting role, but like did well, you know, and like the guys they had in here doing little small supporting roles was great, you know, like Jason Fleming is, you know, just a guy that gets murdered real quick, and you're like, yeah, no, I recognize that face, but Jason Statham's more of a badass, so he kills him, you know. Jason Statham's daughter in this film, played by Isla G, she didn't even do bad, you know, and I'm not necessarily a huge fan of, you know, like, children actors, but she did pretty good. But, you know, there was a couple of parts with this where I was real invested, like, they were just treating the girl so poorly, and I was just like, oh god, you know, is it bad enough that she got kidnapped? Now you gotta treat her like shit, you know, and she's pointing a gun to her head, and she's like talking shit to her, and then like the two morons that kidnapped her, like just kidnapped her just because they like were like, oh, that girl's the cute one, and this is the one the guy wants, not knowing who they're messing with. And like Jason Statham's supposed to have her back. She didn't really need somebody to have her back, because that girl had a lot of goddamn fight in her. And, you know, I love to see that they made like a woman, you know, that got kidnapped. She wasn't just like, you know, scared for her life. Like, she was willing to fight back, but she also did it in a smart way, where it's like, when you're handcuffed and tied up in a room, that's not the moment to fight. You find a little nail, you start, you know, figuring out, you start being smart, you know, like this woman was intelligent in this movie. She, like, you know, found a way to get her handcuffs up. She waited for, like, the right proper moment to get, like, they're driving along and they crash the car, and she freaking makes a break for it, you know. She finally gets away. She gets to like some cops, and she's like, I'm a missing person, please, you know, like, help me. And they're like, we know who you are, we got you. And then all of a sudden the cops bring her back to the bad guys. I was so pissed, you know. I was like, you fucking pigs, you fucking pigs. I was like, how dare you, you know, like, the girl finally got away and you brought her back. And then finally, you know, Jason Statham came and got her. But I was like, oh god, you know, how do you do that poor woman like that? She had a hell of a journey in this film, and like for a while she was off camera. She was just like not, you know, a main character on screen because she was just kidnapped. So it's just like, well, she's in a room, so we know where she is, and it's just like, you know, we cut away for a while, then we come back and she's like all bloody and beat up, and you're like, oh man, this poor girl's been going through it, you know, like, poor girl. And the character that Jason Statham was playing of like Levon Cade, or Levin, he was like a former military guy for like the British special forces or whatever, and he was like, you know, worked for them for 22 years, and then like the grandfather is trying to take the kid away from him because he's a killer, and he's like, I served my country for 22 years, that makes me a bad guy, you know, like, how's that even possible, you know? And his like wife had committed suicide, right? They didn't really talk about that much, but like it was just like him and the daughter, and the grandfather left, and like he's trying to fight for custody, but he can't, you know, because this guy's a doctor and he's got a big house, and you know, he's got more resources, and he's just screwing him out of being able to see his own daughter. Like it's got some heart in there, it's got some good story, but it's got like, you know, some great action in there, and overall, you know, I thought it was better than The Beekeeper. And you know, it's shocking that some people on like Letterboxd and stuff, the ratings don't show that. I gave that film 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was like a 6 out of 10 on the dot. If I had to give this a real 10 score, I would give it like a 6.5 out of 10, but like it's still a 3 out of 5 stars for me. It doesn't quite make it to the 3.5, you know, 7 out of 10. It's not, you know, worse than The Beekeeper. So yeah, it's right around a 3-star for me. Just like a decent little way to spend 2 hours watching an action movie. You know, nothing too crazy. Will I ever rewatch this? Probably not. But my sister did want to see this, and she's a big Jason Statham fan. So, you know, I'll probably recommend it to her, and she'll probably really like it, you know. So know your audience, who you're telling to watch this type of thing. If they're like somebody that likes elevated movies, maybe this isn't the one for them. But if they like dumb, you know, just shut off the brain and absorb a 2-hour action flick, you know, like, pretty good, you know, not bad. Now streaming on Amazon Prime. Go check it out for yourselves. Leave some comments down below if you have any other movie recommendations for me. But I would also love to hear your thoughts on A Working Man and other Jason Statham films. And if you saw Beekeeper, what did you think of that? And you know, David Ayer, if you saw the 2018 Suicide Squad movie, would you ever watch a David Ayer Suicide Squad director's cut, like an extended edition, like his original vision for the movie? Because I think it still is out there somewhere, just we never got to see that version. And you know, I actually didn't mind the theatrical version, mostly because of how the score in the movie plays, and it just sounds great and looks great. But I don't know, that movie's still messy, and David Ayer got done dirty. So I feel like, you know, he deserves his shot to put out the movie he wanted to make, right? You know what I mean? But that's it from me, y'all. Thank you guys so much for coming on by, and if you made this far in the video, please consider liking this video, commenting down below, subscribing if you haven't already. Those are all great ways to support the channel. Share this video with a friend. Hit that bell so you don't miss future movie reviews and you get the notifications when those come out. Once again, my name is Big Cam. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!